joining us for this week's What's Happening Waupaca. I am Joni Kern. Today we are talking with Mayor Brian Smith. I haven't seen you in a while. Saw you last year talking about the budget. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks, Joni.
You bet. Good. Always good to see you again. And I'd like to have you in to talk about the budget because I think that understanding a little bit more about where the money goes and why we're paying taxes as city residents is important. I think that's important to all of us. So tell me a little bit, you were telling me just a couple of minutes ago that you are changing the process just a little bit for putting the budget together, because I know you are pretty much in full swing as far as starting to plan that, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we need to get the budget approved and over to the county so that they can print the tax statements in December. So we want to start early so that we don't run out of time. And yeah, we did we did change the process this year. What we're doing this year is we're on the Tuesdays that we don't have regular city council meetings, we're having budget meetings. A month ago, we had a meeting that just talked about staffing needs. 2 weeks ago, we talked about capital requests and budgeting for those capital requests. And about 2 months ago, we actually had discussion on financing and our TIF districts and how they're doing. And so we're getting ready now to just get into the grind of the general fund, the department request, and trying to see if we can put all those numbers together and see how that turns out on the bottom line.
Okay, so most of us that are watching this are about to say or have already said in our heads, are taxes going up this year?
They are not. The goal from the mayor's office, and I'm pretty sure the city council is on board with us too, that we feel that although we are going to receive less shared revenue this year, we're going to receive less transportation dollars here. We feel that there are other areas that will not cut services, but will still be able to maintain within the current tax structure that we have.
Okay, so if you're getting less transportation dollars and less shared revenues, those come from the state, or is that state and federal level?
They come from the state. Now, the state might get the money, some of the money from the federal government, but the state is the one that controls that money.
And those programs are being cut so that you're receiving less of those. Okay, so then how does this work into the city's budget and how you're not going to raise my taxes? Because, you know, I'm one of those people that takes a look at the entire picture. I pay taxes so that I can get the services. I can get police officers, I can get the roads cleared, I can get whatever done that makes my life easier and the things that I'm accustomed to. But if the state is constantly cutting the amount of money you're receiving, then in order to get the same types of services or the same level of service, you need to spend more money out of the city budget.
You do, and that's basically what's happening at the state level is they're pushing more of the pressure onto the locals to try and figure out how to keep their balanced budget. And we do have budget constraints too, where we're only allowed to go up net new construction, which is minimal for us anyways. So even if we were to raise it, it wouldn't be enough that you would even see a couple of pennies on there. We're lucky enough to be able to do that because our TIF districts are starting, although we have some TIFs that are in distress yet, but they're starting to pay off. We're starting to pay off debt. So we're paying less on debt now. So we're able to use those monies that we were using to pay debt to help maintain the services. So it's a good thing that we're reducing our debt and we have less debt payment, but at the same token, we're not able to grow, we're only able to maintain.
So I'm going to back up for just 1 minute because this is something that I don't think I fully understand. I didn't understand at all a year or two ago. What is a TIF district and what does it do?
TIF districts are set up so that you can use the tax dollars, the growth of tax dollars, to to promote the expansion of, in most cases, it's industry in an area that is normally a distressed area or an area where you want the expansion to happen. And what you get to do is you get to use the tax dollars that you receive in there, you get to use those 100% to help pay for infrastructure and
Sure.
also to pay debt.
Sure, to grow. I mean, if you have an area of the city that you would like to see more manufacturing and more retail or something like that, you create a TIF district, if I'm understanding correctly, and that allows you to put money to that to bring companies in.
Exactly. And what happens with the TIF district too, everybody's sharing in that cost. It's not just city taxpayers, but, well, it is city taxpayers, but also the school district is participating in that, the county is paying in, helping on that, and so is the state, quite honestly, too, because their dollars are going to help pay for that infrastructure. Sure. And the promotion of that TIF.
But when you bring a company in, then, I mean, the whole goal is for that company or that area to pay enough taxes to be able to pay back the infrastructure that was implemented in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we need those tax dollars to be able to pay the debt off, but we're also looking at growth of employment too, so that the TIF district doesn't just grow with infrastructure dollars, but it also grows with more employees that are working in our TIF districts.
And paying taxes and doing all of that. So taxes aren't going up. You have a little bit of extra money in, because of the TIF districts, you have a little bit of extra money, so you're able to absorb any costs that are going up regardless, just because of the economy. I mean, some costs go up. But what is there in the city of Waupaca that you would really like to see as far as additions that aren't going to happen because of the tight budget that you have? And I know that you're one of these, and you've told me that the city council is, you are very adamant that taxes not go up, that you not take any more money out of the Waupaca residents' pockets.
Exactly. That's exactly our goal, is not to be able to raise taxes, and to be able to do it through growth is our ultimate goal, and that's why we have the TIF districts, and we hope that we have growth within our residential area too, which has been very slow. But your first question was, what are some of the things that we feel that we would like to see? And I wouldn't call them a wish list or a Christmas list. I would call them things that have been thought through by the department heads. And I guess the number one item that comes to mind is Acting Chief Brian Hozell has asked for additional staff. We know that Waupaca County is, and the city of Waupaca is no different than anywhere else in our country, that we have a drug problem, and we need people to help us with that. And so he's asking that we have an additional officer that would just deal with the drug problem that we have in our community, and we don't believe that we can afford that. So it's going to put more stress on the officers at that time. And when I say I don't think we can afford that, it's not that we don't think it's very important. And if we can figure out a way to do it, we'll do it. But we're, like I said, we're going to put more stress on our officers, because we know that they're going to have to work more on that drug problem also. So if our number one need, if we can find a way to fund that additional officer, we'll do that.
And that's, I mean, we're talking about budget for the city of Waupaca is not a whole lot different than budgeting for a personal budget. If you want or need something, then you need to find additional income, or you need to give up something that you're already spending money on. And it's one of the things that I like to touch base on when we get together and talk, because part of what I want to do is to try to help communication between the city and the city heads and all of the people that live and work in Waupaca, because I think there's a huge communication gap. And I know that this isn't something that you intend. You don't intend to sit in your office and never have communication. But people have a tendency to assume that they should be able to get more, but then want taxes to remain the same so they're not paying more. And I know that that's a dance that you guys do every single year with the budget to try to make things work and still to try to make all of the residents happy.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. There's no doubt about it. And quite honestly, you know, I'm in my 8th term, 2-year term. So I'm in my 15th year as mayor. And I've quite honestly prided myself on not having to reduce services within our community. Yeah, the library has cut back a couple of hours, maybe on a Sunday or other days, but the reduction of services, if there is any, which I really don't believe there is, it's been minimal, and I'm pretty proud of that considering what we've had to work with, and certainly not trying to put an additional burden onto our taxpayers.
And it's been a while since you've increased taxes.
It has. It has. And again, it's been difficult, quite honestly, to continue to maintain that too, because we are receiving a lot less revenues from the state because of their budget problems that they have. So we've had to make it up locally. And I don't know that we can continue down this route because we're not going to always reduce our debt payments pretty soon. You know, we're going to be at a point where there's nowhere else to go unless we get additional growth. And that's why we're pushing so hard for the TIF districts to grow for us and our residential areas to grow for us too.
Good, good. Thank you, Mayor Smith, for being on here today. I always appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Joni.
And we will see you hopefully before next budget season.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be on more often than this, so it would be great.
Good. Sounds good. We'll find something we want to talk about besides just sitting here chatting.
Right, exactly.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of What's Happening Waupaca. We will see you again next week.